we live a fulfilling life if we truly know who we are and we truly show up as who we are. But I think we can lose sight of that if we're always trying to keep other people happy. And it can start at such a young age.
Welcome to GMP, the Great, Glorious, and Glamorous, aka the Going North Podcast, where authors from around the world help you realize that success is tangible. You'll leave with at least one new piece of inspiration or information to help you keep going north. Now let's get on with the show. Today's episode is sponsored by both books, Going North, Tips and Techniques to Advance Yourself, and the follow-up bestseller, Stay the Course, The Elite Performer's 7 Secret Keys to Sustainable Success. Head over to Amazon.com, pick up both books. They are available in a trifecta of paperback, audio, and ebook. Cop all three of both and be on the lookout for another book from yours truly to help podcasters succeed. Now let's get on with today's episode. And today on the Highlight Reel Builder for Authors, known as GMP, they're great, glorious, and glamorous. Might as well add gorgeous too, because today's guest fits all three of those G's, if not four of those G's and more, because we got another super special, awesome human for you today, all the way from the land of Down Under. That's right, the opposite side of the globe. She's 12 hours ahead, so she's a fortune teller. And apparently the future's bright because she's got sexy glasses and a bright smile. And on top of that, she's an international best-selling author, personal development and business coach, a professional speaker, and as well as a past Miss Australia, the first ever on the podcast. Ever won the title of Miss Australia. That's right indeed. So let's give it up for the superstar, the tantalizing Tracy Secombe. How you doing today, Tracy?
I'm doing very well, thanks, Dom. How are you doing?
Doing well too. That's right indeed. That's right indeed. That's right. That's right indeed. We got the mighty tea in the building. That's right indeed. I hear this tea isn't green tea. I hear it's yellow and fuchsia or golden fuchsia.
True.
But hey, it ain't just about the tea you drink. It's about the tea that's lived an awesome life and still got plenty of decades to come. So since your first time on the podcast, mind filling us a bit on your backstory of how you got to where you are today?
So, well, where will I start? Do you want to hear right from the beginning?
I mean, if you want to go back to the womb, that's okay.
Well, I grew up in a country town. My mum was a nurse. My dad was an entrepreneur, and I'm the eldest of 5 children. And I started out my adult life as a physiotherapist. So I ran a physiotherapy business for 20 years. And when my mum passed away in 2016, I realized that she was a people pleaser and I was a people pleaser. And I sold my physiotherapy business and I started helping people pleasers to become soul pleasers.
That's what I'm talking about indeed. So my goodness, people pleasing is a huge topic. I'm pretty sure it's as big as, I'd say, 3 humpback whales at this point. It's probably a popular topic, but my goodness, soul pleaser, what inspired the soul pleaser part of the whole title?
Well, I think that they are the two options. I think that people think if you don't people please, then you're going to be self-centered, narcissistic, and selfish. But I think that there is another way, and that is soul pleasing. I think that in any moment, we're either being influenced by fear or by love, or we're being influenced by our conditioned personality or our real self, which I think is the soul. And I think that we can be even less selfish as soul pleasers compared to people pleasers, because when you're a people pleaser, you're giving to get. You're trying to bend over backwards to keep everybody else happy because you want to be liked, you want to be approved of, you want to feel loved, you want these things back. Whereas when you tune into your soul, who loves you unconditionally, you can just give because it feels good. So that's where the soul pleaser part comes in.
That's what I'm talking about indeed. That reminds me of part 1 of your book. I was able to snag a copy before the interview today and get past chapter 1 since I didn't have enough time to finish it. But it's like, oh man, I think it was, let's see. If we worry about what other people think, we can't be ourselves. So I guess That's probably the keystone of everything.
Yeah, absolutely. I really think that we live a fulfilling life if we truly know who we are and we truly show up as who we are. But I think we can lose sight of that if we're always trying to keep other people happy. And it can start at such a young age. I think that we interpret the messages from our parents who mean well and love us. But when they're happy, we think that they love us. And when they're not happy, we think that they don't, which of course is not true. And so then we just end up on this slippery slope of trying to keep everybody happy so that we feel whole and loved. And then we become somebody that we're not. We're, a daughter and a wife and a mother and a business person and all these different roles that we play. But underneath that, we are unique. And if we can tap into that and be who we really are, then people are really drawn to that. And we find our own tribe when we're being ourselves.
Heck yeah. That's right indeed. That's right indeed, especially when you can truly be yourself. 'Cause it reminds me of this internet meme joke I found like a couple years ago. It's like, oh yeah, be yourself until you actually do it. It's like, oh no, that's too much. We didn't mean it
Yeah.
like that.
Don't be over yourself.
It's like, why are you going full peacock? Come on, just 5 feathers, not 50.
It's such a good point, though, because I think that sometimes people say, oh, he or she is full of themselves. And I think that that can be a very positive thing. But somebody who is trying too hard is not being themselves either, because it's very natural when you're being yourself.
Heck yeah. That's right. The good natural. That's right indeed. That's right indeed. Gotta love the good natural. Don't want the fake stuff. That's right indeed. The fake stuff sometimes can last like plastic, but hey, it's plastic. It ain't real.
Yeah, exactly. It's not sustainable.
Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. So, my goodness, what would you consider the main catalyst for you figuring out that you and your mom's habit of being a people pleaser and really going on this wonderful journey to put this book together? Was it the sad time of her passing back in 2016, or was it something else?
I think that really was the turning point for me because up until then, I'd really become a workaholic at quite a young age. I realized at school that I got praise when I got good grades. So I worked really hard to always get perfect grades. So I became a perfectionist. Um, the start of it probably was when I developed an eating disorder at 18. I was actually living in America. I was in Texas as an exchange student. And I just couldn't control anything. And I was homesick. So the one thing I could control was not eating very much and exercising a lot. But it all came about because I was trying to be perfect. And I watched my mum do that for years. And she realized as she was dying that she'd worn herself out by ignoring herself and putting everybody else first. And I think my tribute to her was to not go down the same path as that because I was headed the same way. The other thing was that feeling grief was actually really good for me because being a workaholic and being such a perfectionist, I was a real overthinker and I was living in my head. And I think that when we live in our head, you close down your heart. And so the grief really stopped me in my tracks. I actually couldn't work for a while because I was so upset. My kids would find me in the laundry on the floor crying, curled up in a ball. And finally, I was feeling something, which meant I became aware of my emotions, whereas I'd shut all of that out. And that's how I received the inspiration that I personally had shifted from people pleaser to soul pleaser. And then I really felt like maybe somebody else out there could benefit from it as well.
Yeah, so I'm talking about indeed. So I'm talking about indeed. So my goodness, and you finally decided to make this your first launch. And if I'm not mistaken, you originally had a sci-fi novel in the works. So do you think you're gonna go the soul pleaser route and make that your next release?
Yeah, it's funny because I did a course, because I was such a workaholic in between running these businesses. I did a course about writing a book and I started to write a sci-fi book. And interestingly, it was about living forever. And so it's quite funny now that I've ended up talking about soul pleasing because in the book, I describe that I believe that we are eternal. And so that can take away the fear factor. I think sometimes when we're so desperate to get to the destination and we don't enjoy the journey is because we think that we have a finite amount of time. And of course, I'm not telling people to be reckless, but what I'm saying is enjoy the journey rather than waiting to arrive somewhere, because there's no end point. I think that we change forms, but we are eternal. So it's not too far off the sci-fi fiction that I started writing 15 or 16 years ago.
Okay, all right. That's right indeed. It's kind of fitting how things happen with this show because I guess at the time of this recording, it's coming the day after we had a guest who was a U.S. veteran had a near-death experience because of a crazy car crash with a drunk driver. And one of her main things is to help folks to stop fearing about death because it's like, hey, focus on the fact that your soul's eternal here.
Yeah, isn't that amazing? Yeah, another way of hearing the story. I really believe that.
Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. So, my goodness, what was probably the most difficult part about putting this book together with it being your first entry into the business of immortality?
Really just creating the time for it. So I've been running the Soul Pleaser program now for 6 years, and I'm also part of another business called Farm Owners Academy. We help farmers increase their profits. And so just creating the space for it. And I teach that if you really want something, just let it go and know that divine timing will allow the space for it. And so that's exactly what happened to me. So when COVID hit, where I live, we were really quite sheltered from it for a very long time. And then we opened up our borders just before Christmas last year and started letting people in that had COVID. And I got it. And so the blessing of having COVID was that our rules, we had to be in isolation for 15 days. So I got sent to our granny flat at the back of the garden. I didn't have to cook. I didn't have to clean. I didn't have to work. And so I had 15 days to get this book that I'd written to the editor and start learning how to publish it. And I think that it's just the example of not pushing something, but allowing it to come out in divine timing. And I really believe that. I think that it launched right when it was meant to launch, and the people that found it were meant to find it then. So I didn't have to worry about it, even though I started writing it 3 years ago.
Oh, wow. So, I guess was it just polishing up stuff because that COVID, like, depending on what version you had, like, good luck trying to do anything. So, was it
Yeah,
just, how was
I
that
was
process?
Yeah, I was really fortunate. So I didn't feel unwell. So I tested positive. I had a sore throat, but I was absolutely fine. So I was really working a lot on the book, and was able to focus. So I was very fortunate.
Oh, all right, good deal. That's what I'm talking about. Yeah, yeah. Very experiences with the darn COVID. It's evil.
Yeah, so
It's evil. Hey, glad you're still here too, and that you got the book out indeed. And the bonus points is it's also on audio too, which I love.
oh yeah, thank you. A lot of people were asking me to create the audiobook, and they wanted me to narrate it myself. So I found that experience really enjoyable, going to the studio and narrating it. I felt like it was my story, so it made sense for it to be in my voice.
Heck yeah, that's right. You heard that right, folks. You get to have Tracy in your head even longer now, y'all. That's right, indeed. That's right, indeed. It ain't just a day, but it's however long. You can put it on repeat 24/7 if you like, indeed. If you got those people pleasing issues more than magazines, I'm telling you, folks. That's right, indeed. That's right, indeed. Oh man, so my goodness, so with praise, is that still one of your quote unquote drugs to this day? Or is it one of your love languages, I guess?
Yeah, absolutely. And the thing is, the difference is that now I can enjoy it without needing it. And I think that's the big difference. If we can just enjoy things without depending on them. And when we're attached to something or we depend on it, whether it be praise or whether it be achievement or recognition or a certain outcome in a certain way, if we can just enjoy it and enjoy the process towards it rather than needing it, then our happiness doesn't depend on it. And I think that's really the key. So people can praise me, which is lovely, or people can not praise me, and that's lovely too.
There you go. Give her all the P. Make sure it's capital. Praise it is. That's right, indeed. That's right. Indeed. So my goodness, so if I'm not mistaken, the book has 6 steps. So what's the first step for folks to take so they can have those six-pack abs of soul pleasing?
The first one is called Wake Up. I think that we can be a certain way and have certain patterns and not even be aware of them. So, in the first step, I really go into a lot of the signs and symptoms of people pleasing, the reasons we people please, who's doing the people pleasing, why we do it, where we get it from. And I think that just makes you very aware of it. And often we can just drop things as soon as we become aware of them. Other things are more ingrained and take a little bit more practice. But that's the first step, is that awareness.
Ah, so I'm talking about indeed. That's right, that awareness, baby. That's right, indeed. You gotta wake up, y'all. That's right. Gotta get that awareness. You gotta wake up from the sleep. That's right. The deep sleep of people pleasing. You get to jump out the miasma, y'all. That's right, indeed. Tracy's helping you to get out of that fog, to wake up, put your glasses on, and be like, oh man, I've been focusing too much on the others, not myself.
Totally.
Ah, that's right indeed. That's right indeed. So my goodness, so since you've been on a wonderful tour promoting the marvelous magic of this book, is there a question that you wish folks would ask you more often?
Oh, that is such a good question. I think the question that I love is, how can I stop people pleasing? And I think that the answer to that is that you basically are taking layers off. So you're letting go. Letting go is the biggest step, I think, in personal development. We're not adding things on, we're not learning anything really. We're just letting go of things that don't feel good. I think that we hold on tight to our problems and our past and our excuses and our blame story. And our story in general. I think we can reinvent ourselves in any moment and become who we want to be. And I think that you don't need to change anything if it's working out for you. So it just depends whether life is great and you're loving it, or whether there's something you could tweak. And then I think it's a great opportunity for you to choose who you want to be and be him or her or something in between.
Uh, so the peanut butter and jelly, huh? Something in
Yeah.
between,
Yeah.
or the jam.
That's right. Exactly. Whatever you want to be.
Oh, there you go. That's right indeed. When they say that's my jam, make sure that's what you want to be, y'all.
True.
That's right indeed. That's right indeed. So my goodness, helping folks to stop the whole people pleasing, helping them to wake up and shedding those layers. So what's probably been the most difficult part about shedding those layers for yourself of the people pleasing? Because I guess sometimes the layers feel like a sumo wrestler layer, extra big, extra wide.
Yeah, so for me, I think the recurring theme is that I can catch myself, if I'm not careful, working too much again because I love what I do. So the thing that I've discovered, that even if you absolutely love what you do, you can do too much of it. So I think we need balance, and I need to be aware of that. And I've got a lot better at setting boundaries, but every now and again I can, go over those boundaries. And the other thing I've really recognized in myself is that the conditions on my self love are whether I am showing up in the best way possible. And so I'm a lot better at letting go if I think that I make a mistake. But I used to be really hard on myself, pretty forgiving actually of other people making mistakes, but pretty unforgiving of myself. And so every now and again, I will check in and go, what is this feeling about? And it'll be about me going, I could have done that better, or, I shouldn't have done that. And so I'm really trying to let go of the whole shoulds and shouldn'ts and just completely embrace myself as human, because we are experiencing a human experience and we're never going to be perfect.
That's right indeed. That's right indeed, because perfect is complete, and nothing's complete in this lifetime anyway. At least you don't want it to be complete.
That's right. That's right. Exactly.
That's right indeed. And speaking of complete, I'm pretty sure there were some setbacks along the way, because if I'm not mistaken, I guess in addition to publishing this book in your coaching business, you had at least 4 other businesses on top of that. So what would you consider your biggest setback in business that actually sets you up for success?
So the setback was when I was going to sell my physiotherapy business, and my business partner and I kept procrastinating around that because it was very comfortable. We'd done it for a very long time. We knew what we were doing. It was pretty easy and it was good money. So it was really easy to just keep doing that. But I was really keen to move on into this. And so I think that when we don't make a move, God, the universe will make the move for us. And so one of our employees took a large quantity of our quality clients. And so the value of the business went from there down to there, and it forced our hand to sell the business quite quickly, which was perfect because that got me off my butt and got me started on this, which is what I was really ready to do. So when it feels like a setback, as you said, it's not. It's the thing that sets you up. So you don't always embrace it at the time, but it's great to be able to reflect and see that life is always for you.
There you go. That's right, indeed. Yeah, that's the drawback of waiting too long. It's like, oh, it's so comfortable. This bed and this
Exactly.
pillow. I don't want to leave. And it's like, oh.
So true.
That's right, indeed. True and blow indeed. So, my goodness. So, what are you excited about over the next 6 months with this new a year on the horizon at the top of this recording?
Well, I'm very excited to be working with a TEDx coach. I'd like to have the opportunity to do a TEDx talk if I can. Totally okay whether I do it or I don't, but it's a learning experience anyway. So I'm enjoying learning how it all works. I also plan to do some really fun things just for fun. This is the new me. So the old me always had attachment to an outcome, only did something if there was an outcome like, business success or something, or an increase in my health or something. So I'm going to join a choir, and my husband and I are going to learn how to swing dance.
There you go. That's what I'm talking about, indeed. So, does this mean we're going to have a Tracy Secombe music album soon?
I wish. I wish. Yeah, I'll keep you posted on that one.
I mean, hey, if it's you singing over some neo soul and jazz, I'm all for it. Sign me up. That's right, indeed.
I
I'll-
will. That is another form of soul pleasing for sure.
That's right. And then eventually star in the movies that you enjoy watching. That way your husband can watch you. Your husband say after one, like, hey, that's you on the screen, honey. That's right, indeed. Right, indeed. So, fun question for you. I guess in the case, another fun question, I would say. So, if your wonderful book, that's right, indeed, for people please the soul pleaser. If it were a food, what would it be and why?
Oh, if it were a food. If it were a food, I think it might be a comforting soup, if you like soup. I think it's comforting.
Ah, that's what I'm talking about. Indeed, it's comforting indeed. So, heard that right, folks. If you get this book, you're gonna feel super after reading it. And or listening to it. Do both, you'll feel super duper.
I hope so.
Oh, wait, no hope they will indeed. That's right, indeed. That's right, indeed. So, my goodness, we're coming down to the magical question that every guest gets to receive. And that is if wake up tomorrow and you're 25 again, but you're still in 2023 with all of your knowledge and experience. So, what advice would you give to yourself?
Oh, I would say just embrace every moment. You have nothing to worry about. Life is fabulous if you believe it is. So just enjoy every single moment.
Ah, there you go. Life is fabulous indeed. That's right. You love to feel it and seal it, y'all. That's right, indeed. That's right, indeed. That's right, indeed. So to keep up the fabulosity, folks need to keep up with the wonderful Tracy herself and all the stuff that she's doing. So for the folks need to do just that, what's the best way for folks to do so, Tracy?
Just go to my website, which is my name, tracysecombe.com.au. If you use .com, you'll find me as well. Or you can find me as Soul Pleaser on Instagram and Facebook.
Woohoo! Well, sounds good in all the neighborhoods. So you heard that right, folks. Follow Tracy. Check out her site. We'll put a link to that in the show notes indeed. So that way you can keep up with all the stuff that she's doing, especially if she decides to publish another book and put something else out into the ethers. That's right indeed. That's right indeed. And plus, for those who want the taste of her coaching, this book is basically it. That's right indeed. That's right indeed. So that's right. So if you read the book and then sign up as your coach, you'll get double the experience. You'll have those six-pack soul-pleasing abs indeed. You might even be able to grill some steaks over them. That's right indeed. Or a tofu burger if you're vegan. That's right. That's right. So any parting words before we close up shop?
I would just love to say to you and everybody who's listening that you are awesome, and don't forget that you are, and just continue to be yourself and be as happy as you can.
One of the greatest investments you'll ever make in your lifetime will be using your time, and you did just that. Thanks a bunch for investing your time by listening to this wonderful podcast today. I hope you enjoyed it, and if you really did, do me a solid and leave a review or share this episode with at least 3 people that you think would get some value out of today's content. Advance others to advance yourself.